This is the best way to scrape local leads through Google Maps by using Clay. And we've done this using two super tools, Serper.dev and Apify. They're tools that might be a little bit intimidating at first. There's a bit of upfront work you do, but once you connect these tools together with Clay, you can figure out anything you want about any leads that are local to you or local for whatever client you're working with on Google Maps. Serper.dev does one thing incredibly well. It's the best way to search through Google Maps. And I say this because we used to run a really heavy operation that would pull all this information out. We were doing 10,000 emails a month, and there were a lot of people involved. And this is now an operation we can run with one person. Google searches is first, and then Apify is really good for very custom web scraping you want to do. And in this case, you want to scrape some of the results we're pulling from Google Maps further. I'm going to show you how we pulled these two things together. And before I show you our workflow, when I say the best, what do I mean? It's cost effective. You don't have to use a lot of Clay credits, even though we're in Clay doing this, thanks to APIs. Very, very detailed research. And you get to know so much about the businesses that you reach out to. And that helps point number 4, which is getting extremely personalized messaging. And this stuff really works when you do local outreach much more effectively than when you're targeting Fortune 500 enterprise companies. And anyone who's run an operation like this knows that feeding this kind of information to your sales reps is a messy, messy operation. And this allows it to be super structured in one place in Clay. We start off in Clay through OpenAI to query what we're looking for specifically, pull that into Clay, run that through Serper.dev to get the Google Maps results that we're looking for. And we can do very custom requests, which I'm going to show in this video, bring that back into Clay for whichever pages we want to pull from Serper.dev. ClayGen then allows us to qualify that list further. And then Apify will help us specifically pull reviews data, because that's going to be super helpful for the type of outreach that we want to do. And all of that will then come back into Clay. Let me show you our table. All right, let's get started with the build. What we're going to do first is some setup work, because we have the best Google Maps scraping ability by combining the best of Serper.dev and Apify and Clay. And so to do that, there's a bit of upfront work with that. First is going to pick a city that you want to explore. Could be one city, can be multiple cities. Second is, if you are looking at multiple different business types, we're just inputting them in here. So we get a JSON output for the types of businesses that we want to look at. And so we have the output here, which is dentist, dental clinic. This is who we're going to be targeting. And then we're going to bring that on to, this is just going to let us input this as, we want to systematically search. We want to say, okay, take these inputs and basically like use this like an app. Take these inputs and have the search run automatically. We're building a bot, basically. We're building a super searcher through what we're doing here. And so now we have dentist, dental clinic, orthodontist, urgent care clinic, primary care clinic, imaging center, city. And now what we've done here through formulas is you have, right, this is dentist in Minnesota, dental clinic in Minneapolis. All of these are going to be specific Google searches. There's a bit of upfront work so you can get the perfect Google search, and you can have as many of these as you want. Now we get into the fun stuff. So what we're doing here is we're connecting through the API to Serper.dev, and Serper.dev is basically cracked search. And so, right, we add our API account, we add Serper.dev into Clay through HTTPS API. And to do that, just a couple things, right? Make your API request, add your specific API account. So we're adding our Serper.dev API account, your headers and whatnot. And basically what we're going to have it ask is, we want to make sure your content type is on JSON. And basically, right, once you see status code 200, that means it worked. That's the main thing to know. And you'll be able to see inputs to that we're looking for. And so what we have here is, well, this is the output. Let me actually show you like what we're requesting for in here. So we're pulling, right, all the crazy outputs that we can get from Serper.dev, and we're going to map this. And so this is where you can be specific about what you want. So here's what we want. We want ratings. We want the address. We want the place ID. We want the website, phone numbers, number of ratings, opening hours, all of these specific variables that we want to pull from here. And if you want to see what that looks like in here, you can look at what all the information you can get is one by one for everything that shows up here. Right? Everything that you would look yourself. Remember, we're building the bot. We're building the super searcher ourselves. So you can customize it later and get what you want. And then now we're mapping this all onto the next table so we can jump in on page 1. So now all the things that we asked for in this column are right here. We have the name for every clinic that showed up as in our result. We know what type of results showed up for each one, and where we can see their address, the place ID, the website, all the things that we just saw, they're being mapped onto this column now. The phone number, the rating count, what are their hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Every single day of the week. And then we're just gonna do 2 things to clean this a little bit more. And we're gonna use Clayagent, right? Clay's agent now to do this. When we jump in here, we're gonna clean up the root domain and just make sure that the actual domain itself is clean and then can be mapped easily. This is very easy, right? Data cleaning assistant, clean the URLs and give us the root domain so we don't have any funny prefix suffix business. So now we have clean domains as a result. Second thing we're gonna ask Clayagent to do. Clayagent is your best friend agent. Just ask it to do this, tell them you act as this, and then Clayagent will do it. So now Clayagent's new job is to visit the website and map it to the physical location and see if it's real. Because some of these businesses don't pass this filter. And what Clay lets us do then, kind of like spreadsheets, is we have our filters here. Only show us any websites who meet the website qualification match. And then the second filter, which I didn't show you yet, is employee count. So this is Clayagent's 3rd step now. We're adding on the 3rd step of enrichment. Again, we're using our OpenAI API key. So we're paying OpenAI to do this. We're not paying Clay. We're not paying Serper.dev. This is OpenAI, real low cost credits. You can do some 4.1 mini, 4.0 mini, 5 mini. And now, okay, you're an AI web researcher. We went with 4.1 mini for the context window. Feel free to play with the model that works. Now we were asking it to figure out what's the employee count, and we're giving it a couple of sources, right? Go to the website first. If you can't, check on LinkedIn. If you can't, check any other public sources. And so all these instructions we're giving will help us build the filters to see, okay, who on this list actually matches our criteria. And so we've narrowed this down. And remember, we have 4 different columns for hours of opening, or 7 for 7 days of the week. And we've now just used this easy OpenAI's command to merge all of those days of the week into a single column. So now when you click through and click on the output that we mapped out, this is what we want. We can work with this. The second interesting tool that I wanted to call out is Apify. Why are we using Apify? You could do Google Maps reviews through Serper or Clay, but we ran into a limit where we could only pull 8 of them. Apify is cracked. Apify, it doesn't feel like they have a limit. And what we want to do is scrape every single Google review for every single business that we're reaching out to. And this gives you lots of information that you can use for personalizing down the line. And this is something that we've had a big team scrape manually only 3 years ago. Times have changed. The tech has changed. You don't have to do that. Here's how you do this at scale without having to blow up your costs or hire a big team to do this. The main thing is, if you have the place ID is important because that's what Google uses to denote you as like a username, basically. Like, this is your specific tag, so Google Maps knows who you are. You can take that into Apify, and I'll run through an example right now. So once you jump into Apify, this is where you are, and you have all these cool little scrapers that exist. We looked for the Google Maps review scraper that brought us into here. And then we could upload through JSON all of our place IDs in one go. I'll show you a quick example right now. I'm going to type in here, Alpha's Shawarma. There you go, Alphas. You want to take this URL. In a previous life, I used to do videos on shawarma reviews before I did videos on Clay workflows. Okay, you click here, paste that in. Or you can do place IDs instead. We chose place IDs, but you can also do URLs. We're going to go to the bottom. And this is what's cracked about it, is you can pick your number. You can choose 100 reviews per place or 20 reviews per place. Let's stick with 20 for now. You click save and start here, and it's running for you. This is a real scraper, and you can actually click on more details to see how it's running in the background as it's pulling. All of these, look at this. Christian, Shweta, Mary, all of these reviews are being pulled in automatically. This is kind of crazy. And we were able to do that not just for every business here, right? This is 41 records. Look at this. Actually, we exported it. So what we did here is we mapped this onto, we did this on this page actually, mapped every single Google review here, right? So just to run our numbers back, we had 45 or so businesses. Each one had an insane amount of reviews, right? Like we might have 40, 50, 100 reviews. Yeah, we put the max at 100. So all of those, run the math, 100 times 40 is what's that, 40,000 reviews that could be there. But not everyone had 100. 100 times 40 is 4,000. What am I talking? And so that's messy. Instead, what we did is we mapped that, right? You have all these reviews. This is too much. And so we did a VLOOKUP here to match for every place ID, which review does that belong to. And so what that gives us now when we get to this page is we did that in this column. And so we column mapping, this is a Clay function. We said search this table, use this place ID. This is the VLOOKUP equivalent. Pull this value for us. And here are the run settings. And here's the formula that we entered in here. And what you get as a result is then on each one, let me look at the first one. Look at records. We have every single Google review scraped sitting in our database right here. Very quick. First review, had a great experience. Don't go, okay. Third one, they just left a X number of stars, but didn't say anything. This person is disappointed. Such is life with Google reviews. You get a good mix. The people who are disappointed will be very vocal. What are we going to do next? We can then use this to have very, very customized messaging. And the best part about this messaging is these local businesses are not used to the super AI targeting that, let's say, an enterprise customer maybe, right? Your enterprise prospect knows all the tricks. These dental clinics see your email and they're impressed because they're not getting a lot of this type of outreach. So building this super scraper has really, really high response rates and engagement overall. And over the last 2 years, a workflow like this is possible that would have taken hours and hours of scraping, of manual time, or just tools that were much more expensive and much slower. You don't have to do that anymore. My next video will be how do you hyper personalize your messaging once you have really, really good inputs, how to think about messaging in Clay. I will be sharing that on Monday.